let's dive in. So positive discipline does not mean go to timeout like in a smiling way. When you think of discipline, what comes to mind? What kind of words typically are we thinking? Consequences, punishments, timeouts.
No punishment.
No punishment. Yeah.
I try to avoid punishment.
Yeah.
Sorry, my English is not very good, so I'm not. I can say a lot, but in my own English.
Yeah. What is your
Ukrainian.
language? Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. If I'm talking too fast.
No, it's
let me
okay.
know.
So
Okay.
we are living here. I'm just by my education, I'm a teacher of English. I just
wonderful.
not everything understand sometimes because of just language.
Absolutely. Yes, not a problem. So today in Positive Discipline as a foundation created by Jane Nelson and Lynn Lott is based on the idea of discipline as teaching. Discipline is really the root of the word is to teach. And so we're not just thinking about how do we punish, but how do we do all of the different parts of teaching them how to be respectful, responsible, and fun to be around. And certainly consequences can be a piece of that, but if that's our only approach, I call that the cuckoo cycle. A lot of parents I work with are stuck between commands, control, correction, and bouncing over to consequences. Like here, even if we think we're saying it nicely, here's what needs to happen and here's why, we're explaining and we're logic and we're talking, and then when it doesn't work, we're threatening to take something away. And really, those are only two small tools in the big realm of other things that can help moments go better. So I hope that I'll share some tools with you today that will either help you in your own family or help you in supporting parents in tough moments. So the first one is that overall positive discipline is all about kindness and firmness at the same time. So if we think of this trajectory or a little chart of kindness and firmness, high versus low, taking you back to your high school graphing days. Low kindness, low firmness would simply be neglect. And you wouldn't be at a parenting workshop if that was anything you were at risk of doing. But the opposite, these two areas are often places we can end up easily without realizing it, which is either high firmness, low kindness. Can anyone think of a phrase that goes with that section? What does it look like to be high? Yes. Yeah. Authoritarian, stern, like you'll do it because I said so. And a lot of times words we're hearing a lot of the people that are stuck on this, it's like, it's about respect though. He needs to respect that I'm telling him what to do and he should do it. The opposite, which often we're married to each other, it would be someone who's low firmness but high kindness. What words go with that? Permissive. Yeah. Which means, say that in, normal English or just simplified.
No consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. No consequences, or maybe not even really clear boundaries. This is kind of like doormat parenting, we can call it sometimes. It's like, I don't want them to be sad. So my big goal is going to be to make sure that they're happy, even if that makes me be walked on, even that, this is maybe the parent I've heard saying to their child, if you hit me again. And I kind of stop and try to reflect with that parent, like, wait a minute, is that a phrase that we would want anyone else in their life to need to say to them? If you hit me again? Or do we want to come up with some ways that we have a firm boundary? That's a 0. As Gabe was saying, our child used to say 0. That's not what we're going to do. So if we're overly kind and low firmness, that tends to lead to children that think the world is always going to make them happy. If we're going overly firm and low kindness, that leads to children who often are resentful or sneaky or rebellious when they're not with that super authoritarian parent. So we're seeking high kindness, high firmness, and like you said, That's maybe as little consequences as possible. Like that's not our main go-to, or punishment certainly isn't what we're going for. But it still is about teaching, and it's about healthy boundaries. It's about mutual respect. You know, if I'm expecting you to be respectful to me, I'm also going to be respectful to you. My favorite summary of this quadrant is I love you, and the answer is no. Hold it up for us, Megan. She's our poster child. So I have a sticker. I love you and, not but I love you, and the answer is no. I hear that you wish I would stay in your room forever, and this is my last kiss and good night. I know that you would like a cookie, and after dinner we can have that cookie. The validating what they're wanting and feeling, and the boundaries. So, any questions overall about kindness and firmness at the same time? Okay, we're gonna do a short little exercise to experience part of this. So I do ask to do some role plays, and I know it can be especially awkward. We're in a smaller group, but just know that we're all just friendly. I'm not asking, no one's judging your acting skills. I just do think interactive things really help you to get in the shoes of your children and look out the eyes of our children and see what that feels like. And it's great for future workshops. Positive discipline, that's one of my favorite things, is they teach trainers to do these type of interactive activities and not just lecturing. So I'm maybe gonna pair you guys up, you two, and us two. And what I want you to do is just choose one person to be A and one to be B. You be A? Okay. All right.
That's so funny.
Okay. The A's are adorable. The B's are beautiful. So if you're a B, what I would like you to do is to stand up, but the A's are going to stay seated. And I want you to imagine that your partner is your child that just did something that is like that thing that pushes your buttons. Maybe it's that they just intentionally bugged their sibling when you're just trying to get out of the freaking house. And I want you to use a wagging finger and be talking down to them and saying things like, how could you do this again? I can't imagine. Try to stretch your brain to what your neighbors might say in a moment like that, angry. I'm sure none of you have said anything like that, but maybe your neighbor. So shaking your finger, I can't believe you would do this. Why are you always making things hard? Can't you just get it together? And that's it. We're just gonna do a little pause, and then we will trade. So you get to take a turn being both the parent or the child. And all that I ask is, as you're experiencing this, try not to observe it from here, but just really for a moment, stand in the shoes of your child, look out the eyes of your child, and see what you find yourself thinking, feeling, or deciding. Clear? Okay, so stand up, B's. I'm the B, you're the A. Okay. Okay, ready? Action. So we're all talking at once, so don't feel on the spot. How could you do this again? You are driving us crazy. You're always doing this. You just need to knock it off and stop. Okay, action. Or
you can't do this anymore, and if you will repeat it one more time, I will punish you. Your behavior is above all measures.
Yay, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, trade roles one more time. Same instructions.
I can't believe you would do that.
Doing
What's
this
wrong
every
with you?
day, it's the same
Why would
thing.
you bug your
Knock it
sister
off.
like that? You know you shouldn't do that.
Easy to think of those things that we say. All right.
Oh, Mom.
You guys are great actors and actresses. So what did you find yourself thinking, feeling, or deciding? What did you notice?
I think it felt like, as a child, like I'm failing. Because both of us started with like, how many times have I told you? So it's immediately like, oh, I'm failing. I'm not getting this right. And
My daughter goes straight to that because then she's sad. if you like talk to her
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
Just immediately she like shuts down. It's like
Yep.
so sad.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
now we're here.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, now
I
we have
made
a
this so
second
much better.
problem. I
I
made
made
it worse.
this so much better.
We are
Right.
knocking out the door in you faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What else?
I think that when you're the parent, it's a lot harder to like step outside of yourself because you're so involved like in your own anger and that's your priority is like your own emotion.
Yeah.
Instead of realizing it's like you want to have the release of that emotion, but then you're not realizing how that's actually impacting
Yeah.
your child.
Yeah, totally. Like when I was in the mom role, I was like, oh, I can do this easily. I know how it feels to be in this place and easily say all these things. And then in the child role, it feels very different. You're like, you feeling it. That's not what I imagine it feels like when I'm saying it to my child. Anything else?
I can say, I try to find it in translate. You feel, I just remember myself because my mom was very strict
Mm-hmm.
and you feel yourself like helpless.
Yeah.
You can't do anything because you understand that this is an adult and I'm from Ukraine and in Ukraine usually it's still, because I tell this.
Right. It's this
Because-
kind.
yes,
Yes.
Because
Yes.
and or for example again telling like I'm telling you and you should do this
Yes.
and they didn't explain why.
Yeah.
For example, you can't put fork into the
Outlet.
yes, but nobody tell why.
Right.
And when you did like this, they yell on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that's my mom.
Yeah. So it takes you back to your
Yeah,
childhood.
and I remember, a lot of people, adults, they thought that children, no, just let it be like stupid, they little, they don't understand. But again, they remember everything.
Yeah.
Maybe not the facts, but they remember the attitude.
The feeling.
Yeah.
And the
Absolutely.
feeling, and later when
Yeah.
they are adults themselves, they remember this.
Yes.
And translating sometime it to their family, to their children.
Absolutely.
If
Yes.
everybody understands what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
And let me ask, did anyone, while you were looking up, think, I really feel like this is that person I'm going to feel safe with taking all my future problems to? No. So we want to involve kindness and firmness in our discipline even, because if we're just doing firmness, we lose connection, we end up making them feel like not heard and seen and loved. And so the approaches that I'm going to give you today are going to give us other ways that we can try to respond that are more effective. So one first thing that I want to have you think about when kids are misbehaving is the concept, get curious, not furious. And this comes from John Summers Flanagan. I just often come back to it. What we see on the surface is behavior, and what we believe in our counseling is that all behavior is communication. That it's trying to tell us something that's going on under the surface. And let's be honest, sometimes it's easy to think that they're just doing it because they're a jerk, or they're lazy, or they're bratty, or they're, they don't care. It can be so easy. And I've seen very loving parents and teachers fall into that type of talking with each other. So I encourage you to get curious, not furious. Maybe if you notice you're doing that with your partner, like he just doesn't care. He likes to make us miserable. Wait a minute. Let's get curious, not furious. What could this be about? So let's just do a little of that together. When a child is misbehaving, what are some possible things that might be going on under the surface that's about, that they're trying to communicate?
He's upset or sad.
Mm-hmm. They could be having a feeling, upset, sad, mad, embarrassed, disappointed.
Looking for connection,
Mm-hmm.
for attention.
Yep.
I think feeling like a loss of control.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, one woman I know, Positive Parenting is her solutions. She describes it that way, like all of our kids have two main buckets, one for power and control and one for attention. And those are reasons, we actually all have those two buckets, right? The theory behind it is that all of us most need significance and belonging. And so that's not a bad thing, but if we don't give them positive ways to have power or connection, they might go about trying to get it in negative ways. Yeah. What else? Why else might a child be misbehaving? Yes! The trifecta: hungry, tired, overstimulated. Right? That overscheduled or sensory. A lot of our kids are more sensitive to sensory things. So is there not a discipline needed of correction, but is it give them a cheese stick? I can tell many times my kids felt like the Snickers commercial, and they're just like, especially when it's very irrational, like, but I don't understand why I have 2 feet and not 3. And you're like, are we really talking about this? Let's just try this cheese stick and some crackers and then let's see where we're at. And then 3 minutes later, they're like, oh, hey, Mom, let me tell you about math. Just a whole different human. So sometimes it's those. Tired is something that I think our kids are having just not enough sleep, a lot of them. Sometimes we have to advocate for our kids that we're not going to be at a practice until 8:30 at night for a 6-year-old, and we have to stand up for that because they need more sleep. Also tech. Yes. The tech overload and detox that happens if kids are watching too many screens. It's just a fact that we get in this dichotomy, but it's the only way that they're quiet and behaving. But then if we see that when the tech isn't on, they're easily overwhelmed and throwing tantrums and resistant and defiant, it's like, we might need to look at this. And
is there current research about tech being dysregulating? And
totally, yes. I mean, there's so many pieces of it.
I'm like, oh, you've been on I can see.
Yeah, it's like a drug. So the Anxious Generation is
just did a book study on it here, but
great,
I need to read it.
so good, and it really goes more into the older ages. But there is a lot of research. I mean, the pace of TV now too for younger kids is just seen. It's getting their brain to have constant gratification so quickly that then when you're living in the real world that's not that gratifying and not that fast-paced of changing constantly, it's hard to focus for very long, and it affects their desire or their ability to tolerate not getting what they want. So all of that, there's a lot of research about. Yeah, and I mean, if people say, well, I used to watch a lot of TV, it's not that different, or video games, it's totally different. They've done so much research now. They know how to make even the cutest little games addicting to children, that they're winning that one more gold star. And our kids have watches and they still, they want to go on these little games. And if I do such and such, I can get, 5 more, or a new rug for my make-believe room in my, it's just so crazy, the things that they get excited to keep coming back to. So tech time, my gosh, if you're seeing behavior problems, that's a foundational one to say, tell me about tech time. What does that look like? So looking underneath the surface is always going to be our best bet so that we can really solve the problem and not just be mad about what's on top. Get curious, not furious. My next key tool is connect before you correct. So we're going to do one more activity, and this one is even just more simple because it's completely scripted. We'll do our same duos. So what I'd like this is going to be, it says a first time and a second time. I'm only going to give it to every other person because I don't want you to look yet. So those of you who did not get a piece of paper, it's okay if you did get a paper, but those of us that did not get a piece of paper are going to be the kids. And our only job is to say, I'm not going to do it. You can't make me. Can you remember that? I'm not going to do it. You can't make me. You can stick your tongue out. You can cross your arms. You can huff, can do whatever feels like your kids would do it. I'm not going to do it. You can't make me. The parents are going to use the script that I've just given them to have a first response. So you guys, those that do have your paper, will you read that for just a sec? First time adult. Are you clear on what that will be? This top part. And then we'll pause. We'll just notice what that was like. And then we'll do it again. Kids, I'm not going to do it. You can't make me. And they're going to have a second response, and we'll compare how those two feel for us. Okay? Questions?
Who's the kid? Who's the
She's the kid. She's the kid. I'm the kid. Okay.
You start first.
So you're going to say, yeah, I'm not
not
going to do it. You can't make me.
Hey,
Get over
stop
here and
that.
do
You
what I
will
asked
not
Hey,
disrespect
stop that.
me. Why
You
do
will
you
not
always
disrespect me.
do this?
You
You need to get over here and do what I asked you to do.
I'm not going to do it. You can't make me.
Never.
My son is telling
You can't force my body.
I'm a
Big
part
like
of the
a ball
family.
and
I
like
don't
say,
wanna do this.
You're not in
You
charge
can't
of my
force
body,
me
or
to
she'll
do
say like,
this.
look at me different, and I'm not.
Like, you're not the boss of me. I'm not doing it.
Damn it.
I don't
Those are
want
my
to.
words.
I'm not very happy with you
I'm
either.
not very happy with you.
All right. Pause. All right. So now I'm going to coach you a little bit before you do step 2, just to give it away. This is a tool that I call whoa, low, and slow. And I made a little magnet fridge reminder you get to take home as a prize today if you would like it. Because I find that this is something that I use it at least once a day, it feels like. And our kids are 8 and 11, almost 9, and I've been doing it since they were 0 and 2. So whoa, low, and slow is my best summary for you of the best evidence-based advice about how to respond when someone's defiant. This is also like terrorist negotiation 101. We lean into and slow down instead of getting rational, right? How often do we get like, well, why don't you stop it? And here are my reasons. And can't we get out the door? And I told you we'd get ice cream and all the things. This is going to be the opposite. I want you, it's called whoa, low, and slow because we're trying to talk as slow as possible. Painfully slow. It will feel so awkward, but try. So I want you to try to respond saying something like, whoa. And then it says, pause for 7 seconds. That's the hardest part. Just hold silence for a few seconds. And then second phrase, you seem, feeling word. Just one word. Pause again for 7 seconds. And then what can we do to make this better? And we're going to notice what that's like for both of us. Okay? Same thing, kids. I'm not going to do it. You can't make me. Parents are going to try with this other response.
Are we switching or
Nope,
still?
same people.
Okay.
Okay.
I am not going to do it. You can't make me.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Hang on.
You sound angry.
You sound really
You sound
frustrated.
upset.
How can
How can we get through
What
this?
can we do to make this better?
Nice.
slowing it down?
For me, I think.
Okay, so first round, what did you find yourself thinking, feeling, or deciding?
Urgency.
An urgency. Mm-hmm. I also didn't really even hear all the things he was saying. It was so fast and just, oh boy, you're mad. There you go, being mad again.
Yeah.
And how about the second time? First, kids, want to hear what that felt like to receive it, and then we'll talk about the parents. What did it feel like to use that strategy?
Yeah, it really slowed it down, and it calms you down a little bit because you're like, kind of like, what are they doing? Like, why are they not?
Uh-huh.
Why are they acting like this?
Yeah. I call this sometimes a non-physical hug.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, say if you have kids that are like, don't touch me when they're mad, this is the next best thing to calm them down in that same way that possibly a silent hug can. What
I'm
else?
doing like this. I have 2 children, two sons. One is 11 almost 12, and one is 4.
Mm-hmm.
And two different categories. This is like preteen. Yes, you call it preteen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is toddler. So you know
Mhm.
this. If
Yeah.
we study in college like this age crisis.
Yeah.
So he is just finishing his age crisis. Like,
Mm.
leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm doing by myself.
Yes.
And this preteen is always like, no, I don't want, I don't. So I'm doing hugs, like real hugs, not
Mhm.
like not just
Yeah.
by words.
Yep.
When, for example, toddler is like active or no,
Yeah.
I'm trying to hug him.
Yes. Yes.
He's like calming down.
Yes. Yes. And that's good. That's definitely one option. You know, I think of like the anger curve, and when they're at that top 8 of like exploding, and this is on the back of your handout, is the same picture, is that a silent hug or space to calm down are the 2 main things I recommend when we're in that highest place. If they're truly hitting, harming, screaming, that's how I define this line. And I do think that's important. Some parents tell me one of the hardest parts is they haven't defined what this line is for them. And so sometimes they're still negotiating and talking and doing all these other things when they're hitting, harming, screaming. And I suggest we got to just draw the line. Once, make an agreement in advance for your brain that when we hit that, we're going to give a silent hug or space to calm down, and that's it.
Do you feel like that line is ever just like a shutdown? Like, can that also look just like a...
Yeah, well, when you
Refusal
say
to speak.
space to calm down, that doesn't have to mean that I'm taking you to timeout. It could just mean I disengage. That's been one of our favorite words too. Or
But I feel
do you
like
mean?
maybe my
Oh, that the
kid's
kid shuts
line-
down.
Yeah.
Yes, some people, this is explosive outwardly. Sometimes it's explosive inwardly, and they're just like really shut down. Or it could be that they're just irrationally pushing for something. And yeah, so you can define this in a couple different ways. Also that shutdown or that like just irrational pushing with their words. And that you just agree in advance when that's happening. We're going to either give a hug or space to calm down. And this whoa, low, and slow is one of my favorite things, though, if we can catch it maybe at like a 6 or 7 before it's gone there. Sometimes this can make sure we come down instead of it spiking. This is what I call being a swamp instead of a spark, right? Because when you go, you will not talk to me that way, does that take us from them being upset more likely down or more likely to this full blow up? Yeah. So, parents, what did you notice? What was nice about using the whoa, low, and slow? What was hard about using the whoa, low, and slow?
I think it can be hard because when like kids are having those such big emotions, it like totally activates our stress response of like I need to solve this immediately.
Yeah.
And I think that like the whoa, low, and slow is very like I don't want to say like counterintuitive.
Oh, it's
but
very
like,
counterintuitive.
It
Yes.
just doesn't feel natural because our
Yes.
reaction is when we see anger is to respond with anger.
Totally.
And so it's like very just like unnatural. But it also like calms you down too as you're doing it too.
Yep. Many parents tell me when they've been using this for a while, like, gosh, that's making the moment so much better. And I think 90% of it is that it stops me when I know I'm supposed to go, whoa, be silent for a few minutes, and just next say, you seem feeling word. It really pivots how I'm, instead of ranting and raving and lecturing and whatever else it's easy intuitively to respond with. This is very counterintuitive and one of the most effective tools if you can, encourage yourself to find the space to practice it and build that muscle. Any other questions about whoa, low, and slow?
I liked it because I think in effort to not be authoritarian, I don't think I'm a doormat, but I think I like to maybe default to that corner. And so it also feels good because those pauses are trying to not I'm trying to solve this, or I'm trying to not flooding with affection and support. It's just
Let's simplify.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this also, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, Listen So Kids Will Talk, has this great material or thought of trying to use 10 words or less. And I think most parents tell me, oh, I do not use 10 words or less. I'm like, all the explanations, and we lose them, you know? If they're in a flooded emotional place, they're not able to hear all those reasons and thoughts. So just keeping it simple. This keeps it real simple.
Yeah, that part's like interesting. You can like, when they're like have lost their mind, like either the authoritarian or the like kindness thing, you can just like flood them with. Like neither one works.
Right, you're
Right.
either
It's equally ineffective.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I feel like it establishes this like, I'll solve this for you.
Right.
yes.
And like kind of robbing the opportunity of.
Well, I have such a hard time not like solving the situation immediately.
Totally.
Like because that's what rational people do. But kids are
Yeah.
irrational people.
Right.
They need some more years for that to develop.
They may never get it.
Really good points. Thank you for that. So speaking of rational, the next idea I want you to think about is take time for teaching. So would you be a little actor with me for a
Sure.
little activity? Come on up here. So all I'm going to ask you to do is try to keep touching things you shouldn't be. Okay. All right, she's the child and I'm going to be the parent or teacher.
Just go.
Yes. Oh, we don't touch that. That's not really, oh goodness. No, we don't want to play with those. Those are not safe. Oh, and these are not for you. For sure, we don't want to have that. You did not even eat your lunch yet. Okay. What did you find? What are you thinking, feeling, or deciding, or those observing? What do you see that is not going so well there?
It just feels like, ooh, I'm on a roll.
Like
she's
made you
just-
more
Yeah.
interested.
She's chasing me, like I'm out in front of this.
This
Yeah.
is
kind
a
of feeling.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a cascade of being behind a kid.
Yeah,
Not
whack-a-mole.
like-
Maybe I
nothing's
solve
changing-
this and then the
nothing's
next
changing. Yeah, you're
thing.
totally just like whack-a-mole.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so come on over here and
Okay.
oh, that's so good. Let me see those for just a second. Do you know what we can do with these? These are going to be a great snack. Let's hold them together. Yes, thank you. Oh, how many do we have? That's good. We have a definite plan. I'm going to hold these right here, and we're going to do something special with them in just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So you were very cooperative. I also might help if outside of the moment I had said clearly, like, so I'm so glad that we're here in this classroom, just so you know, there's these things over here and we're gonna have them in just a minute. So let's choose which one you're gonna have and we'll put it right here to take time to explain that. So what I want you to think about here is this red light, green light. Sometimes we only say the no, what they can't do, and we forget to also say what they can do. So in this instance, it was just like, I'm gonna tell you what we can do with the candy. If she had come over and ruffled this at first again, I might have said, oh, you wanna do something with the paper. You know what you can do with the paper? Here's a pen, and you're welcome to draw on it. Let's try that. Would you like to use this pen or this pen? Which one do you think you would like? How would have that felt for you?
Yeah.
So there's two key things we're doing there. We're giving an alternative, and if ever you can give two choices, that even more so gets them to be interested. So taking time to redirect. We're getting short on time, so I'm just kind of bouncing to all of my favorite little tips and tricks for you. So we're gonna do one other thing that's sort of related to that as well. So, oops. Let me give you one, you one, you one, you one, you one, and I'll do one. So what I'd like you to do is the orange people are going to just say statement 1, pause a little, 2, pause a little, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When we're not reading, we're going to put ourselves in the shoes of our children and see what we're thinking, feeling, or deciding. And then we'll do the same with the green ones. Okay, go ahead. Just read the items that are there.
Go brush your teeth. Don't forget your coat. Go to bed.
Do your homework. Stop fighting with your brother. Put your dishes in the dishwasher.
hurry up and get dressed or you'll miss the bus. Stop whining.
Whining. Sorry.
Whining. What does it mean besides that?
Like,
Whining.
we all did so well.
That.
Goes
That.
beyond language.
Pick up your toys.
Okay. Let's do, so what did you find yourself thinking, feeling, or deciding?
This isn't fair.
Not fair. I feel like,
Yeah.
quit telling me what to do.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's what I'm telling.
Yes.
It's like so definitive, it's so easy to say no, like it's so black and white.
It's
that
clearly inviting a yes or a no, which
Yeah.
some kids are cooperative and will say yes, and some are more strong-willed and they're more inclined to say no. So these are the exact same things. We do have to get them to get a coat on. We do have to get them to brush their teeth, but this is just a different way to do a prompt. And let's notice what this is like. Hey, what do you need to do so your teeth won't feel scuzzy? What are you taking so you won't be cold outside? Oh, what's next on our bedtime routine chart?
What is your plan for doing your homework? How can you and your brother solve this problem? What did we decide about what to do with our dishes when we have finished eating?
What do you need to do so you can catch the bus on time? What words can you use so I can hear you? What is your responsibility when you are finished playing with your toys?
What did you notice that time? How does it feel to hear those statements?
Gives them power.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it gives them credit for the abilities. Like, oh, I have some autonomy.
Right, back to
here.
equal respect. There's some sense of equality. Yeah. How?
Sorry. I noticed, no, just like noticing when just having children while having children. I noticed a very interesting thing that, for example, if we are talking to our partners, yes, or the people age like we don't communicate like this.
No,
But
right.
no, we can't say, for
No.
example, like what my husband, like stop playing this game or like stop playing. No, just you try to explain, yes.
Yeah, more
Because
collaborative
you
language.
Think that he is like equal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But why then we sometimes communicate like this with our children?
Exactly.
Just because maybe we can't see the response from them. No, we know.
Right.
Okay, you what are you doing to me? Nothing, because I'm more like I'm more adult than you. I'm more professional than you. I know more than you. Just I think it's disrespectful.
It is, and even I don't think we do it with intent of disrespect. I think we just do it because it's like the shortest line from A to B. Seems like if you need a coat on, I'm going to tell you to get your coat on. And we get thinking like, why do I have to tell you 15 times? And I love when I work with parents that say, maybe you don't need to tell them 15 times. Maybe the 15 times is more because you keep telling. And I wonder what it might look like if you used one question and how that shifts their brain, feeling more equal, feeling more respected, and it makes your brain have to do the work. I also say with these questions, the telling is like, then they learn they never have to think for themselves. And then we get frustrated. Why don't you think for yourself? Meanwhile, we're doing all the thinking. So this has a double whammy where it's more respectful and it's more likely they're cooperative, and it fires their thinking brain to have to, when I say, what are you going to wear so you're warm outside? Those neurons all start firing. What do I want to wear? Am I wearing a sweater? Am I wearing a coat? Do I want that coat or that coat? And that, we know has longer lasting positive effects. So I have a handout for you guys that has two things. One is these exact examples of curiosity questions, we call them. They start with a what, how, or where. So they're not a question in terms of can you, will you. I ended up with my father-in-law on the wrong side of that equation this last summer. Like even as a 44-year-old, he said to me, hey, do you want to get out the side-by-sides? And I said, no, I don't need to. It's like, I'm not interested. And then I watched him get out like 3 side-by-sides by himself. And then from the garage, for everyone to go on a ride. And then I realized, oh, you were asking, I would like your help. Please do this. but I just literally took it as a question. Do you want to? And I just didn't. I said no. So sometimes our kids either don't like being ordered around, or they might not even understand the question when we say it with a yes or no option. So these are all making their brain think of the solution. What, how, where. And then this other side gives you a lot of additional creative ways that give some choice. So it might be, hey, it's time to clean these up. Do we want to pick up the blocks first or the tractors? Hey, we need to go upstairs. Do we want to go right side up or upside down? Should we do it singing or silently? And other little approaches with the same concept that are more likely going to get them to want to do what we're asking, because it fires those neurons and is more respectful and collaborative. Okay, we're getting to the end of our time, so the last thing that I want to just share is how valuable it can be to let routines be boss. If you haven't to this point if you end up having a lot of tantrums or upsets around things like, can I have another popsicle? Can I go over to my friend's house next door? The common things, have you stopped and thought about, is there a protocol? Have we made some sort of agreement? And like I have written here, toys, tech, treats, morning, and bedtime are the 5 main areas. I hear people so frustrated with their kids, but also when I say, well, what's your sort of protocol? What have you explained what's supposed to happen during that time and have a motivator at the end of what happens when that goes well? It's like, well, no, we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Maybe that we haven't thought to do that with our spouse, so we don't think we need to do it with kids. But it does help if you have, say bedtime routine is we brush teeth, we go to the bathroom, and maybe you make a short little picture of that. And having a motivator at the end is really key too. Like when we've done this on time, quick and snappy, we have 3 books. If we're starting to horse around, we might get down to 2 books. And then after that, if we're continuing to horse around, we get down to 1 book. And that clarity of the routine helps in so many ways. Then you can, as you heard in the questions, what's next on your bedtime routine chart, that assumes there's a bedtime routine chart. So it helps also with the asking instead of telling tool. So I'm going to stop there with our last 5 minutes so I can answer questions. Yes. Oh, yeah.
I can still ask a question.
Yeah.
What do you think as a parent, because you said you have 2 children.
3rd grade, 5th grade.
Because you obviously know all the stuff inside and out. What habits or things you still find yourself really difficult to try and correct within your family?
Oh, I think I'm just a perfect parent, aren't I? Yeah, my husband's here for those on video, so he can hold me to be honest. Wow, that's such a great question. So, I still attend every parenting workshop I can attend because it always helps to hear ideas again and again and again. I lead a parent coaching group so that parents can be alongside each other and every week come back together and hear each other's examples of using the tools and ask the questions and hear the answers again. I think the best thing that helps all of us is find your space, whether it's going out to lunch with a friend that you're you're reading a parenting book together with, or you enroll in a coaching program, or you just attend any workshop you can. It's just you're always learning. And I think the other piece is to always be willing to reflect afterwards when things didn't go well, and whether you do that with yourself or a girlfriend or your partner. We do it all the time still. I've been learning and practicing these tools for 20 years, and I go, okay, that didn't go well. What could we do differently next time? Just like the WOA, low, and slow protocol. What could we do differently next time? Let's get curious. What's this really about? Are we thinking she needs us to have a clearer boundary, and really it's that we need to just stop and hug her more often when she's getting so defiant? You keep testing things out and getting curious. What else haven't we tried? There's no perfect parent. There's no perfect child. Those of you who are also parents for a long time, what would your answers be to that?
The thing I struggle with most is my daughter will she does the shutdown and refuses to talk. And that's really hard for me because I'm like, we gotta go, we gotta like, and it's a very effective way for her to kind of seize control is like what my thought always is, but I think I need to get more curious about it.
And I would piggyback on what you just did, time. It's when you're crunched for time
Yeah.
that you forget some of these things, like even in the classroom too. It's like when we're in a
Yeah.
rush,
Yes.
then you forget all the things you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
And-
and I feel like the more in a hurry I am, the
Yep.
more it like she's like,
Yes.
yeah, slamming on the brakes. Yeah.
And that is so important for all of us. I mean, every parent that I talk to has so much on their plate, and like this is part of the downside of technology. We expect ourselves to be able to respond to a text message from our mother-in-law and an email from the teacher and a play date that's supposed to happen in 20 minutes and get to work on time, and like there's just so much that can be on your plate that, you know, parenting does take time. And so I think one of the big things too is to make space for parenting. As simple as that may seem, I think we don't always really preserve it. That, you know, and what does that look like? For instance, let's make sure in the morning we're waking them up with adequate amount of time, that we're not just like grabbing them out of bed and like, come on, you got to just like get dressed, get the food and get in the car. That's not realistic. Maybe let's wake them up that extra 30 minutes so that we can have time. Or this was a big change for me in parenting, to try to anticipate if we actually have to leave at 8 o'clock, I'm going to tell myself we're leaving at 7:50. So there's room for the tantrum and the hills digging in. And I'm not saying we don't have time for this. I built in time for the upset whenever possible. Not that you can always.
I also have time to talk. No, I'm just calling this in Ukrainian. So my son, who is 11, because both my sons have problem with speech, expressive speech delay.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for them to express thoughts and to talk. So they have a good passive vocabulary, but they can't connect it in a full text. And I'm always talking with my son before he is going to sleep. No, while he allows this me, because I know then when he will be 25. But now he wants me or his father, and he's tried to talk about what was happened at school, what problems he has, for example, like Max, tell me this or that, what I should do. And I appreciate that he, how you call, like, he talk, no, just
He's open.
Yes, he is open to me.
Yeah.
And this 10 minutes is very important for me. We try to do it every day. So that helps.
That's
sometimes.
so nice.
You can talk,
Yeah.
and these 10 words, as you tell, that not a lot of text explaining, because he's not even listening for some.
Right.
But you can say that, okay, you know that Max was like incorrect. So try next time to tell him, I don't like this, and so you just explaining. And
Keep
I
it
think this
simple.
time with children is important. And also divide time. For example, my husband go with him to the movie, because for boys and girls, I think for boys at 12, it's important time with dad. Yes, like boy play basketball or talk or playing games and so with dad, and talk with boys questions, you know, because I am a woman and I can't be the same, like, oh yes, I can and
Know the football facts.
I don't know how to be a mom of a girl, so I know that this is some opposite.
It's such good
Boys
points.
need the elder it's my experience. The elder he becomes, he needs more time with his dad.
Or
He
male
wants
role
more
models.
father.
Yeah. Yep. Those are all super good points. I really appreciate everyone sharing those. All right. Well, thank you all. And please there's also one more handout we didn't get into, which is when you have to tell your child no. These are ways to kind of say no with a yes, or other creative thoughts. So that's one more handout you can take home. And I'm so glad you guys were able to be with us today.
Thank you.
Would you real quickly, if we have 1 last minute, would each person share what's the one top thing that you're taking away from today that you're either going to start or stop doing from what you've learned today?
I start practice this one because no,
Whoa.
I tried it, but sometimes when you, as you said, sometimes when you come and hear some more practical things, I try to do this more often because
Awesome.
in a situation exactly you're a lot of emotional and you can't stop yourself. You can't stop yourself. But I will try.
Perfect.
I'm gonna do a little more asking than telling at bedtime. Bedtime's like breaking my brain maybe. Maybe
Awesome.
I'll ask them what's next instead of telling.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. That and get curious. But asking what, like, encouraging them to problem solve on their own.
I would say the routines, like the morning and bedtime, making sure they're the same every time so we're getting that pattern that we can follow.
I think just recognizing, okay, like when is the time to just pause and just sit there and just sit in the uncomfortable silence.
Awesome. Great. Thank you all. Have a good rest. You can leave your email if I don't have it already, if you'd like to have follow-up information from me.
Great.
And thank you again to Bozeman Reads for hosting us today. Thank you so much.
This was really
Yeah.
helpful for me as
Yes,
just a mom.
it's always helpful. Yeah.
Good. Well, that's what, like I said, I attend every workshop I ever can still too,
Yeah,
because
it's
I always
still-
learn something new from others.
Help you get these guys here.
Do you want any more of? Thank you. Yeah, please. We